Hello.
Hello.
Hello, everybody.
Evening.
Hi, I'm Attorney Mark Friedman. Nice to meet you. Hi, sir.
Larry Rocco.
Mark Friedman.
And Joe Costello, Mr. Friedman, nice to meet you.
How are you?
Mary Lou Barnes.
Hi.
Hi, how are
Pleasure's
you?
mine.
Nice to meet you.
Right there would be good. Mr. Friedman.
Oh, okay. Nice to meet you.
Welcome, everybody.
Is that IED or?
IEDMAN, yes, sir. Like as my wife would say, it looks like fried man.
I worked for a trucking company
All
many
right.
years ago when I was a kid, and it was Friedman.
All right, we're going to call to order the meeting for the Village of Sandalwood Lake South Homeowners Association for Thursday, April the 18th, 2019. Roll call, Mary Lou Barnes,
President.
Randall Anderson,
Here.
Joe Costello,
Here.
Larry Rocco's here, Natalia Franklin.
Yes, here.
Okay, so the board's, every member's here. So we have some we have a special guest, and I'm sorry, I don't,
Mark Friedman.
Mark Friedman, of the
Becker.
Becker.
Becker and Polyakov. Becker.
The
law
famous
firm.
Becker and Polyakov.
Yes.
If you go online
Okay.
and read.
All right,
We have a good marketing department, man.
Yes, you do.
okay. So he's going to tell us a little bit about his law firm and what he can do for the Village of Sandalwood Lake South.
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me here tonight. My name is Mark Friedman. I'm a shareholder in the law firm of Becker and Polyakov. We now do business under the name Becker. I am a board certified specialist in condominium and planned unit development law. That second part refers to HOAs, the planned unit development type communities. In the state of Florida, there are about 88,000 attorneys. There are only 129 of which are board certified in this area of the law, and we have 22 of them at our firm. Becker has a number of practice groups, so it's not just condominium homeowners association type law. We have a litigation department with board certified litigators. We have collections department if collections is an issue. We have a construction department if you're trying to build or construct anything, road contracts, any kind of building contracts. They're board certified in their specialty area. And almost any other type of law, we have a number of practice groups that can assist you with any of those types of issues. We even now have an elder law attorney there who does estate planning if anybody in your community is looking to do that. One of the things that I like to do when I do these types of meetings is I always like to give you something. So this is our Community Association Sunshine Law pamphlet with a nice little cheat sheet on back for HOAs. So like Oprah would say, you get one, and you get one, and you get one, and you get one, and so do you.
Thank you.
And it's just something as a little leave behind. We put out a lot of brochures and literatures. We put out our community update for our clients. We also put out, if you do collections, we have a website portal which allows you or your treasurer to go on in the middle of the night if they want to see where things are at with any collections that you may have. We've been doing this now. I've been doing this for almost 15 years. The firm's been around for close to 46 years. And one of the benefits that you have with us, not only because we're board certified, is that if there's something that you ask that's a very novel question, before I start doing research on it, I have about 25 other partners and colleagues that I can send an email to and say, has anybody ever done X, Y, and Z and come across this or researched this? Because, some of them have been practicing for 30, 40 years, and they're like, oh yeah, 10 years ago I did that issue, and then they'll say, take a look at this case, and that kind of expedites our ability to get you the answers more quickly, rather than spending a lot of time on Westlaw doing the research, which we can do if necessary. Do you have any specific questions for me?
Well, I would assume that your law firm is a full board law firm. In other words, you have the ability to handle collections.
Yes, sir.
You have the ability to file liens.
Yes.
And anything associated with what we come across in.
Yes, sir.
And we come across a lot, so.
And we even have an attorney that specializes in fair housing issues, because a lot of times, I don't know if your association approves or disapproves of purchases or sales or any of those types.
We do.
But we find that a lot of people have been getting into hot water because, for example, in 2016, HUD had a HUD guidance memo which kind of changed the landscape of what you can approve or disapprove for. And my colleague Joanne Burnett, who co-authored the paper with Gary Polyakoff a number of years ago on prescription pets, she is the person that I turn to. That's all she does all day is fair housing issues that come up in communities. And she's saved more boards from the wrath of the Office of Equal Opportunity than I care to count on. So that's like another subspecialty within our area of practice. Because even one complaint like that could cost tens of thousands of dollars not covered by insurance.
Yeah, we're very careful not to try to get ourselves into those situations,
I
but
appreciate
we do
that.
have an approval process that requires a notarized document being signed for the size of dogs that they have, because we have a 20-pound limit. We also make them sign an affidavit now, because we recently amended our declaration, that when you buy a home in here now, you have to own it for 2 years and live in it before you can rent it.
A leasing moratorium.
Yes.
I would wonder if you had a clause in the leasing moratorium that prevents people from the end run of leasing it before the sale, which says something to the effect that if the house is leased prior to the sale, that the moratorium becomes effective upon the termination of the then current lease.
I'm not sure if that
That's a very
language
good
is in there or not, but I can tell you that I just got notice here today of a LLC. Let me read you the email here. Let's see.
Also, how old is your community?
From
1984,
86.
85.
So have you filed your
86.
statement of marketable records title action?
That's a good question.
Yes,
Okay,
we did.
so that's the question that's the leave behind, because if you haven't, whoever you decide to work with them immediately on that.
No, I believe we are.
I hope you are. You probably are. If you had somebody amending your documents, somebody probably did that.
Well, we just amended, they
But-
were first amended in 88.
Now my phone's locked
Then
up,
they
so
were
I'm not
amended
gonna.
in 92, and this
But
is the
I
first
can
time since
remember enough
92
about
that we amended one
Okay.
portion of it.
But yeah,
And it had to
definitely
do with
check.
leasing and
But
sales.
when you check,
Yeah,
Yeah,
check
I'm writing
to see
it
if it
down.
was done around 2014 or 2013. I tried to look before coming here, but I couldn't get onto the right system because I had trouble with my computer also.
we did not do update for
We didn't
2013.
revitalize, but we did.
Just filing a statement, you wouldn't need to revitalize, you
Yeah,
would just need to
yeah.
file a statement as a board.
And that's,
We did do that when we came on.
Yes, I think
Okay,
we
then
did.
you're
That
good.
was 16, right?
Then you're good.
16, that was when we came on.
So that's something to be thankful for, because
we had
sometimes I
dropped
do
the
these
ball.
interviews
We
and
dropped-
they don't.
We dropped the ball in revitalization, but just this year we passed some very important amendments that needed to be done.
All right,
To change the
and again, some of those nuances I can't just speak from the hip off.
All right, well, I can't seem to get
That's
this,
fine.
but I can tell you what the email told me. We had a investor who wanted to purchase a property in here, and when we made him aware of the new document that needed to be signed, he said, "No problem. Now here's a guy who lives in a $650,000 home on Flagler." He said, "I'll live in it for 2 years, and then I'll rent it." Well, we all know he's not going to come from there to one of our little quads. So when he found out that the document needed to be signed and notarized, he backed out of the deal.
Okay, good for you.
Yeah.
And I would probably say if it's a $650,000 home on Flagler Drive, it's the cheap home.
Yeah,
Flagler
well,
Drive.
it could be worth more.
It should be like, if you told me it was the $2 million home on Flagler Drive, I'd be impressed, right?
Well, we checked
My
it
guess
out.
is-
That's what it last
Yeah.
sold for.
Yeah.
It could be worth more than that today.
Probably is.
just a tad more.
So yeah, we can do just about any type of law, and it's what I like to tell people is our job is to make the lives of board members and their managers easier. To try to give you an answer, not in legalese, but in ways that you guys can understand and read. Not a 20-page letter when you've asked a question, but something that is easy to digest, that kind of gives you the guidance. Because I find that sometimes, some attorneys, when they write, they kind of try to show off too much of this and too much of that, but they're not giving you some kind of guidance where here's what you should do. Now, not everything in the law is black and white, obviously, because some things haven't been tried in this state and we have no court opinions, but to the best that we can, that's kind of how we try to do. I mean, that's when I do power. Yes.
When was the last time you assumed the legal responsibilities for an HOA?
Yesterday. I literally do HOA work every day. We have HOAs throughout Palm Beach County. Like amending the documents for an HOA, I've done that. I'm sorry.
I'm talking about assuming all the legal responsibilities.
Being the attorney,
of the HOA.
law firm for the association.
I represent 140 associations, and I would say maybe a third of those are HOAs where I have the primary responsibility for them.
The transition period, what kind of typically happens during that period of time between you getting our records and getting up to date?
Okay, so that's a good question. The transition, if you're not doing a lot of things, like you're not involved in litigation right now, you don't have a lot of matters open, we have like a form letter that we send to whoever your current attorney is. I think I know who it is from looking in public records, but does that mean my time's up?
No,
Okay.
I'm just trying to get my
I
phone
just
to
thought
work.
that meant, like the buzzers on the game show, your time's up, you're out of here. Yeah, so we have a form letter we would send to your current attorney, says that, we're taking over the responsibilities. If there are things that are in the process, like for example, if you have a lot of collections and they're like at the 10-yard line, they're ready to go to court, we would say these 2 or 3 you probably want to leave with this current person because jumping in now would be more problematic than beneficial. But if you're not in the middle of anything, then the transition is just immediate and there's not anything to really do. What I like to do is to have an hour off the clock with a new board. And I don't count this because this is kind of interview-like, but we would have an hour off the clock where we just discuss whatever your particular issues are that you're concerned about. We would, try to have a game plan if anything really needs to be planned. But the transition is like, if you were to say, we're on board with you, we'll send you the retainer tomorrow, we set up a meeting next week off the clock, and we meet and we discuss, and we're transitioned.
Well, what kind of documents do you require from either our management company or our current attorney?
So the answer to that is we need a set of the governing documents. We prefer to pull them ourselves from the public records because sometimes even the best of boards have missed an amendment and we're opining based on wrong documents. So we like to pull a fresh set, which you're entitled to a copy of. It costs $75 from attorney's title. We don't bill for that. It's a pass-through cost. We would only really need from the management company documents if there was something specific we're working on. For example, if you say lot 32 isn't paying their assessments, I would say ask the manager to send me a ledger back to the point where the house was at a zero balance. We'll get that into collections. If you're saying that the manager's looking at landscaping contracts, I would say send me the contracts, we'll review the one that you've selected, and we'll either do an addendum or a red line or we'll fix it up. But other than that, I don't need to have every document you have. I don't need your insurance documents unless there's an insurance issue. I just need your governing documents because 90% of what we do is going to be based on that. You're going to ask a question. They brought a dog, it's 21 pounds. What does it say about the dog? Does it say 20 pounds at full maturity? Does it say 20 pounds when it comes in? But you see what I'm saying? I would look at the documents which the courts look at as a contract And 90% of the time, that's all I'm going to need to answer your questions. We've digitized them at our office so that we can scan through them very quickly. And yes,
Well, just quickly to go back to something you started with. For example, if we do have homeowners behind in their maintenance, and it's up to the, we have a level before it goes to the attorney. So if it's at the current attorney, then that would be based on your gut. You
no,
would
it's not a
say-
gut. So what I have is I have attorney Joy Mattingly, who's my partner. She runs the collections department for
Okay.
our state. She would look at the list, and if you just turned it over, she would probably say, well, these we could jump into because you just sent the initial
But
demand
if
letter.
it's 6 months or 9 months or a year old,
If it's old and they're doing something with it,
well, we do get prepay or pay
Yeah.
back agreements.
So
Yeah.
she would look at it because sometimes we find that one of the reasons you might be getting rid of a current attorney is because it's been sitting there in 3 years in collections. You don't know why it hasn't come out.
Right.
And then she could look at it and say, well, if they transfer it to us, we can do X, Y, and Z to expedite this. But again, those are specific nuances on
Right.
the specific questions. If it's where you sent the initial demand, you placed the lien, 45 days have gone by, and now you're doing the foreclosure action, then I would probably say, we're at the foreclosure, he's filed with the court,
Stay with it.
let it finish it, because jumping in now is more aggravation. Remember, our job is to make your life easier, not more difficult.
Muddies the water.
That would be more difficult because he's like the football, he's at the 1 yard line, he's ready to cross it, and you don't want to have a different quarterback at that moment.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Because that's probably one of the issues that we would have to address.
And if we
Yeah, but
do
this,
have a meeting off the clock, I would try to see if we can schedule it when Joy is in the office, because usually she's in court doing different things. So maybe if collections is a big issue, she can come in for a few minutes to talk to you about that as well.
Okay, and where is your office located?
My office is 625 North Flagler Drive. It's the old Bank of America building about a mile north of where Sunfest is. Took me about 18 minutes to get from
Yeah.
there to here through a very convoluted route that Siri sent me on. Just saying I found it, but I mean, she had me going through some back neighborhoods, and I was like, okay. But it's
Siri is for the birds, according to my friends who try to use it for directions.
Yes, you're quite right.
Plus, she always gets Mary Lou's name wrong when I dictate.
so funny. Yeah.
Send it to Mary Lou. I'll send it to
no,
Mark
but
Friedman.
you know what she calls me? Murray. Murray Lou.
Mary Lou.
Yeah, it drives me Nuts.
Anybody else have any questions, comments,
No, I think,
anything I could
No, I think.
yeah,
I think we've got a pretty good idea that you're more than qualified.
Well,
Yeah,
I do
yeah,
appreciate
wonderful.
that.
Well, in the Polyakoff, I just have to speak personally, connection. I can't tell you how many decades I have made use of using that website to answer questions because
And the late Gary Polikoff was my law school professor.
Oh, really?
And it was 15 years ago. And the reason I worked for them is because it was 2004 and we had all those hurricanes. And he says, we have so much hurricanes, we're so busy, we could use more attorneys. And I'm like, I'm graduating. And he's like, the deal was if I booked the class, which was the highest grade in the class, he would try to get me in the firm. And well, I'm here still.
I guess you had the highest grade.
Yeah, I did. It was my last class. I graduated number one in the evening program. I could have not had the highest grade and still been number one, but since he made me that deal, now I had to do it. And even with the board certification, you have to have 20 years in to be grandfathered.
Right.
I have 14, so I have to take the 6-hour test to become board certified on the smallest issues in HOA law. And I was charged at the firm to train some of the other attorneys with less experience to make sure that they passed, and we all passed. Okay. So it's fun, and even though I know this is a serious job, my job is, I enjoy this a lot, and I have fun with my job, and I've done board certification classes, and so I want to make sure that you understand that it doesn't have to be all serious. Sometimes we can actually just enjoy the job.
I've been to your class.
He's been to my class, so he knows the jokes and stuff, so if you ever do come, just laugh politely. If you come to a refresher, here's another retainer, because I know we gave you a retainer
Yeah,
ages ago, so I just got you a nice fresh packet.
Thank you.
And anything else? No? Yes?
No, hey, thank you
Okay.
for coming.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you very much.
Can I ask something very quickly before we get started?
Sure.
Crystal has been working her butt off to try to get these minutes done for you guys as accurately as possible. Can we try to please not try to talk over each other? Please get people's attention, be acknowledged before you speak. Let people finish speaking and try to announce who you are
Right.
so she knows who is speaking. It's a little easier now our groups get smaller, but if we could just try those things, it would make it a lot easier for her to do the minutes.
Yeah, you should start it from the beginning because this way everybody will.
Well, I'll try to do that each time.
Very good, very good.
Yeah,
This is
I
important.
sat and tried to listen to those, and I've helped her try to decipher them. And
Okay.
Mr. Fender will be here in a couple minutes.
Okay,
All
then
right.
we can do next some on agenda.
All right, well, with my report, I'm just going, I didn't really prepare a report because of the speakers, so it's very brief. And I already mentioned that we now have people that are refusing to sign lease agreements because of our new document changes, so that's a good thing. That'll keep rentals
Very
down. As far as the treasurer's report, of course, we all know, or maybe some of you don't, that Michelle resigned from the board effective last Thursday. So I jumped in this week, and there was a couple things that needed attention, and one of which was Sun Trust. We had a CD mature, and we had it at 2%. It's a $100,000 CD. It was at 2%, and we was able to get Sun Trust to increase it to 2.5% for 6 months. Okay? And the other issue is we have $50,000 in an account with no activity at Wells Fargo. So Earl said his suggestion would be to leave it there. He can activate it again simply by drawing a check against it and then depositing a check. And he can do that all from his office over at CAMS. Doesn't require us going to the bank, signing this or anything.
So Lelitsky you're referring to. Okay.
Yeah, and it helps us keep our levels at
Oh, we have
FDIC. We don't want to exceed that because then we're not protected.
No, we have to.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we'll let Dave give us a little bit of a report since.
okay, I'll try and be quick. I've got several things I want to mention. First on the fences, as we know, you guys got that all straightened out. Both contractors are signing the things. Jaworski started back Tuesday. He signed his. I've got to give it to you to sign and get him a copy. Landell's not starting till Monday because he scheduled work, not knowing when. So he's working elsewhere this week. He'll be back Monday on the job.
Right.
And he'll bring the signed one in. My only question is, who is going to be doing fence inspections?
You are.
I
Right.
am. On both sides?
Both sides. Nobody has anything to hide. They'd welcome it.
We had a homeowner at the meeting, the special meeting, longtime homeowner in good standing. And she, hello.
Are we okay on time?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
perfect.
you're good.
Just quickly, she volunteered to help inspect the fences.
That's
And she's a
wonderful.
former board member and has lived here a long time.
Right. That's
So,
perfect.
Joy Caldera, her name is.
Can you repeat your name again?
Now you said
Joy, Joy Caldera.
Okay.
and she has. What was her background again, Mary Lou? I'm sorry, I missed it.
Well, retired school teacher, but has lived here forever, has been through the last building of the fences, is very savvy about construction, and has the time
Okay.
to do it.
She
And
can help her.
She volunteered.
She can help David out if.
Well, that's what I'm
Yeah.
thinking, yeah.
I wrote her down. I'll
Have
give her
her
a call.
coordinate with David, though.
Yes,
give her a
exactly,
call
oh,
and
yeah,
we'll-
no, but I mean, I walk 50 and 51st almost every day, so.
It was Mary Lou.
Okay.
All right, so we'll pick up where we left off here, but we have, David, we'll put you on hold. We have our guest here. If you'd like to introduce yourself.
I'm Mike Bender, and here with Allison Hertz. We're with King Bender Rembaum.
Hi there.
Hello.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
Yeah.
And who are we speaking with?
Okay, now this is our board.
Natalia
Natalia
Franklin.
Franklin, I'm Larry Rocco, Joe Costello, Randall Anderson, and Mary Lou Barnes.
Hello.
Hi.
Okay. All right, so
And I'm going to give you these folders, which I brought with me, but I wanted to make sure I give you one of Allison's cards as well.
Can you say your name because we're recording
Oh,
for
Michael Bender and Allison Hertz of K. Bender Rembaum.
okay.
Do you have one for us already? Yeah.
Take one. Here, we'll share.
Here's one.
No, we have one for everyone.
One for everyone. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you
Randall.
very much.
Randall.
All right, guys.
Joe and I can look at the same one.
I already got one.
Oh, you already have one? Okay.
Okay.
Would you like one of them?
Sure.
All right, you have the floor.
I'm on energy.
Michael, would you like to speak first?
Sure. Thank you.
Is this good cop, bad cop?
No,
It's good cop, better cop.
I am usually the bad cop.
At firm is K. Bender Rembaum, we want to thank you all and apologize for my back. We want to thank you for the opportunity to come and speak with you about what your issues are, what your needs are. And I will take literally just a minute or so to talk about the firm, who we are, what we do. But I really, Allison and I want to
I'll
focus
introduce
on...
myself as well.
Please, Allison and I want to focus on really taking questions from you and answering as much as we can about how we can work together, what we can do for you, but we want to know what your issues are. So very briefly, K. Bender Rembaum, we are a community association law firm. That is the firm's practice. 90-95% of our clients are community associations, either the HOAs, condominiums, a few co-ops are sprinkled in there, but that is what we do, soup to nuts. We have our offices in Pompano Beach and Palm Beach Gardens, which is where Allison works out of. And we actually have a new office up in Tampa, which is a little bit far for you guys. And out of those offices, we're general counsel. We're general corporate counsel for you. As you all know, beautiful homes, beautiful neighborhood, your friends and neighbors, but you've stepped up and you volunteered to run this very large business. And in that capacity, you have your management expert, you have your business advisor, you want to have good legal counsel that will help you when issues come your way. What we do at K. Bender Rembaum is we bring a lot of experience to the table. There's no question about that. What we pair with the experience is the customer service aspect, which historically, what I hear, and Allison probably can confirm, is lacking. If you choose to go with our firm, we are hired as a vendor like you would any other vendor. And in that regard, you should expect top-notch customer service along with quality legal advice. So in that regard, we are accessible, we are responsive, we provide you opinions that are easy to understand. We're not a nickel-dime operation. We get with our clients, we get in here for the long haul. We provide our guidance to you in a way such that when you sit around this table, you understand what the legal issues are. If there are multiple options, you know what the options are. You get the cost-benefit analysis of each of those options, a risk assessment. So that our job is to make sure you're fully informed so that when you sit with your business advisor, you're making fully informed business decisions. That's what you're tasked with as board members. So really, that's the long and the short of it. We represent communities consistently since 1992. We're very active in legislation. I myself am the legislative chair for the Florida Legislative Action Committee, which is the legislative arm of CAI. We have our lobbyists. I had a call today with 2 weeks left in session. Good news is it looks like for the third year in a row we've killed the short-term rental bill so that the Airbnbs of the world will not be able to step into our HOAs and dictate how things are run. So we're very active with that. Both Allison and I and our offices and outside offices do a lot of education, all free to managers as well as board members. Everything from board certification to the legal update to fair housing classes, enforcing your documents, updating your documents. We are quite familiar in all aspects of community association representation. So you have an issue, we've seen it in some way, shape, or form. Awesome.
Michael, you did a good job of
thanks.
introducing the firm, but I just want to introduce myself a little bit, and I want you to as well.
All right.
I'm Allison Hertz. I'm corporate counsel for associations. That's what I do all day, every day. I've been doing this now for 12 years. I am board certified in condominium and plan development law in the inaugural class. I took the test last year. I'm from Palm Beach County. I'm a native of Palm Beach County. I live in Jupiter. I've lived there my entire life. I'm not going anywhere. I love it there. My whole family's here, so Palm Beach County is very important to me, and I, have a lot of pride for our county here. That's important to me. As Michael said, at least with me, I really like to work with my boards and find it pleasurable to have clients that like to talk and to have nice conversations, and I like to really provide my clients with a lot of practical legal advice. I know that a lot of the legal issues are complicated, and you get into letters that are very complicated, and the lawyers are very use a lot of legalese and whatnot. I prefer to really streamline things and really just look at things in the real world perspective. As Michael said, give you your options and then you make the decision. We give you the options, we might recommend an option, and at the end of the day, you make the decisions here. As Michael said as well, I feel that we are very accessible at our firm. A lot of my clients have my cell phone number. I give it out. I don't mind that they call me. They don't really abuse it.
We're rare in that way.
Yeah, they
give
don't.
ourselves.
They don't really abuse it. They call when they need, and we can connect, and you're going to be able to get a hold of us. So I think that's important.
And myself personally, and I do apologize, I did believe that, I've been practicing law since 1993. For the last 20 plus years in community association law. I've lived in Broward County for the last 25 years. And I am not going anywhere either.
I saw my former colleague come in or leave here. I used to work at Becker Polyakoff for a little bit of time. Yeah,
I'm one of the few who never did.
I used to work with her.
Well, you always get more than one opinion,
Yeah, exactly.
Sure. So please, we'd love to hear what your particular issues are in the community.
Questions about our
questions
terms.
about us, whatever it may be.
Okay. Well, I'll just say a few words that a lot of the issues in our community we were successful in cleaning up when we updated our documents regarding leases. We were locked in under, 30-year-old documents
35.
where we couldn't refuse anybody to rent a unit, and we have some good homeowners that rent units. But we have to keep the percentage down because as well as I do, if rental percentages get too high, so go the property values. So we're trying to keep it a balanced community with no more than 20%. We'd like to get down to 10. But we started out at 40 or 45 and we're now down to 25. So it's going the right direction. And my questions about your law firm would be that I would imagine you have a collections department, you have paralegals that work for you to do work instead of attorneys where the rates are lower when needed. No, I'm not saying if it requires an attorney not to use an attorney, but
Well, if I may, I'd love to answer that question and give you a very brief overview of how we work with our collections. We do take a very aggressive approach to collections within the bounds of course Florida statutes as well as the directives of the board. In that regard, we do have a department that we would assign to you a paralegal in collections. And quite frankly, historically now, the bubble burst 10 years ago, it was pretty rough. These days, collections is still kind of flowing, but more and more we're seeing people are resolving it after they get one letter from us. They should respond to when you send them letters, but they come to us, they get a letter, they get a charge, attorney fee charge, they take care of it. Sometimes they're going to lien. Rarely now are they going to foreclosure. And I can see that because my foreclosure department is not quite as busy. But, which is good, it's good news as far as that goes. People are resolving it. So what happens is we do have a program for our collections. Now, if you choose to work with our firm, we don't have an annual retainer. It's a pay-as-you-go approach. If you decide to hire the firm, and I think I sent it to you, but I do have the original here.
okay.
And The first 4 pages is our general retainer. It's a pay-as-you-go approach. If you decide to hire the firm, basically we become available to you. You let us know. You give us authorized contacts. You'll let us know, this is what we need. Please do so. Please do the work. We do the work. We bill monthly. Collections can work the same way. But in a community of your size, I imagine you probably have more than a few collection matters throughout the year. So we do offer an optional program, which I would say probably, I don't want to say all, but almost all, if not all of our clients who represent that are your size, larger, or in that range, are on this program. And rather than the pay-as-you-go approach, where we would do the work, bill you, and then you'd wait to get reimbursed from an owner, we'll advance all the costs and we defer all the fees. So you turn over as many files throughout the year as you want, 3, 30, hopefully it's not more than that, for your sake, but we'll take. But however many files you wish to turn over, we will then, this process is the same. We will send them a demand, the first statutory demand letter, and we will bill and tell them they owe you 100% of your assessments, and if you're entitled to late fees, then of course the interest, and then we'll add the attorney's fees and costs. We do not invoice the association. We will then look to collect back from the owner. As they pay, it goes into trust. Once it's paid in full, we cut 2 checks. One to you for 100% of your money, one to us for the fees and costs the owner has paid. Okay, that's how that program works. If that's of interest to the association, now, if in that scenario, if it does have to go to lien, we will pay the recording cost of lien. We'll advance that cost for the lien. If it does need to move to foreclosure, we will advance the cost for the title search. We'll advance the $450 court filing fee. We'll pay the processor. We don't ask you for a cost deposit of $500 or $1,000. We're advancing all of that.
So it kind of streamlines the
So
process.
it does. It also streamlines because you're authorizing us to sign your lien. So in that regard, there is, and I did send that to you, there's an annual buy-in for that of $450 for the year. So if you chose to sign up now, we prorate it for the rest of the year just so you can try it. You can try it for the year. If it's working, great. If you don't have any files for us and you decide, we don't need this, you can jump out of it and go to pay-as-you-go.
Yeah.
So that's how the program works. It's very simple. You get access to the paralegals. There's no charge to speak to the paralegals. Like you said, they don't give legal advice. We are online, which is very helpful to all of you. So any matter you refer us in collections, association collection or foreclosure, bank foreclosure or bankruptcy, we have a web portal on our website that you will get a personal user ID and password that you can access. It'll pull up your association and it'll show you all the owners that are active, that you've turned over that are active. By clicking on them, it'll open up a very easy to read ledger, which shows you exactly what the owner has seen, how much they owe in assessments, interest, late fees, attorney's fees, and costs. If they've paid, you see right there, full disclosure, full transparency, what monies we're holding in trust, all the notes of the paralegals and the attorneys, as well as comments from the owner. If the owner's reached out to us, it's all in there. And if you have a meeting in the middle of the month, there's a single button. You press the button, it prints the reports. You can share them at any time. And if you have any questions about that your paralegals, you contact your collection, or if it's in foreclosure, your foreclosure paralegal. No charge to do that. They can't give legal advice as we talked about, but they can certainly answer any questions you have. And if it is a matter that requires an attorney, you get back with an attorney. I remind you all again, we're not a nickel-dime operation. You call me, or if you have a quick question about something that does require an opinion, we don't have a meter on the phone. We don't have a meter on the laptop, simply because you're emailing or calling. We don't, boom, let's start, boom. It doesn't work that way. We want you to know, and Allison pointed out very well, we want to work together. When issues present itself, you're going to need our assistance. We'll be there to provide our assistance, and you'll recognize that's what we do, and you'll pay us for it. But in between, little things here and there come up. We want to help you be able to run this community the way you want to be able to, govern the community. So, but that's how our collections work. And yes, under that program, you're correct. There's a blended rate. Right. So there is work that the attorney does by themselves, and then there might be some paralegal work. But if there's work that both are doing, we don't charge attorney rate. We blend it to lower the rate.
And then there's also the benefit of the reduced bank foreclosure fees.
Right. Well, if you ask us to monitor a bank foreclosure, then if you're under that program, there's a flat upfront fee, and we will handle it. And we don't charge you each time we're touching the file.
Okay. Well, you're right about one thing. Collections are up in our community. I mean, we're doing better with collections, but we do have some homeowners that get into $13,000, $20,000 behind on assessments. Now, that's because it happened years ago.
Yeah, with the crash.
With the crash.
08, 09.
Now, some of these people, then they file bankruptcy. And then we're going to take what we get from the bankruptcy court. But On that pay-as-you-go program, I noticed you said that you collect the money, and then once it's paid in full, we get our money. So, in other words, you don't take so much a month for attorney's fees and then give us so much. If it takes, some of these are 2 and 3 year programs.
If there's a that's a good question. That's the general premise. We will do, well, 2 things. One, if there's a payment plan that's set up that's going to run over a long period of time, anything, quite frankly, beyond 6 months, we're not going to want to monitor it. We're going to want to pass it back to you and let them pay you directly. So any attorney's fees that are owed on the file would get paid, because we'll have someone who owes several $1,000s. We'll send it a demand, $250, and they say we want to enter a payment plan. Well, the first payment's going to pay our $250. There's no reason that we then keep getting the money and have to flush it through. We would just say, now make all your other payments directly to the association. You're going to have to keep it, but then that does require you to keep an eye. If they don't pay, let us know so that we can then go back after them.
Well, I was going to say, because that loses teeth when you say pay the association.
Well, if they don't, the moment they don't pay, you're letting us know they're getting a letter from us, not you. Secondly, if it's something where we're collecting money over a period of time, and you can, and I say this, once a quarter, no more than once a quarter, we'll do what we call partial dispersals. And what that is where you said, we'll go to each file. If there's attorney's fees owed on the file, we would pay out the attorney's fees and reimburse us the costs that we've advanced and deferred, and the balance we would then disperse to the association. And then we can keep collecting, the new money, on those plans. So that this way, if you're in need of the cash, and you don't want to wait that long, then we're happy to do that. The reason I don't do it more than once a quarter is twofold. One, we do not charge you for that. It's a lot of administrative time that we take on. Number 2, although, quite frankly, I think our team is excellent and we try to be error-free and almost always are, when a file's all the way through and complete, it's a lot smoother. When you're doing things in between, it offers an opportunity to have an error.
Right.
So those are the reasons why we try to limit that as much as possible. But we again, in the relationship we have, that's something that we have done and we will happy to do.
Okay.
Question to your question. So if after you've joined us and are working with us, and we have a new situation where someone has fallen quite a bit behind, where it does require some good, stern action, shall I say. Okay, so you would create it for us, right? You would, the repayment, you would do the legalese.
Oh, of course.
Payment plan.
The
Yeah,
payment
we
plan.
would
Thank you. I was searching for the word.
We would
Yes.
prepare the payment plan, we would get it all
Exactly.
set up.
And as you said, the first payment, if it was $250 a month or whatever, would be yours, and then from then on. Now,
We wouldn't take that money though. It would all go into trust.
It would be a
It
credit.
would go into the trust account because
Right.
until there's a dispersal.
Okay.
And usually
Okay.
that would be at the end, but if it's a long payment plan,
Right.
and then the association says, hey, can we get a dispersal on that? Well,
Right.
then we
That's
would
the
disperse the fees and costs to zero out anything, and everything else is yours.
Gotcha.
Except for
Okay.
then, if we're monitoring it long term, I think we charge $30 a month to the owner, not the association.
Okay, now to Larry's point where he said, if the homeowner sees that we've taken it over, the monthly payment over, and they're not as afraid, shall we say, because it's not coming directly from the attorney anymore. Will that original document that they signed, that will be on your letterhead or your law firm?
Yes.
100%. Well, and in fact, and understand this, the letter that would go to them,
Right.
instructing them to send their future payments to the association, will come from us with a warning.
Good, okay.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
And if that's
Again, we've done these a few times.
That's like
Okay.
a contract.
Good question.
So
Yeah,
if they breach the
contract. Thank you.
contract, then it goes back to us to enforce the contract.
Correct, but it would still, whereas Larry said some,
It would be
aren't
teeth,
afraid
right.
anymore.
It would be a law firm.
Yeah, no,
It would
they,
still be very clear on paper that they shouldn't mess with not paying us because you're there.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and the only thing that we would ask in that regard, and your management company is familiar with this, is that if the payment doesn't come in, that you flag it and you let us know immediately, because
Right.
we would send them an immediate, breach letter and give them a 10-day window to comply, or else we would
Right.
discuss it, we'd move forward. With those payment plans, do know this. If an owner says, I'd like to enter into a payment plan, we will offer on your behalf. Now, again, based on what you've said to me, I'm going to strongly recommend you would go with our optional program, because you have enough files that it's a no-brainer for you to let us advance all the costs and defer all the fees on these files.
And
you'd
move them quicker.
And move them along more quickly. And in this regard, we would say to the owner, you can pay us half down of what you owe and balance over 90 days and stay current. If they ask for something longer than that, or if they say, can you do something with the interest or late fees, we come back to the board, we ask them to put it in writing, we bring it back to you, we discuss with you, and then you will give your okay on something of that nature.
Okay.
All right, so there is that shared
It's a little
discussion.
bit of a hybrid then.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
But just so that it's very apparent from day one that it's not the five of us
yes.
going after the money. It's,
100%.
okay, good.
Definitely.
Our fingers are all over it, and we'll
Good.
stay on it.
Okay.
And it stays active in our system, and it remains open to you 24/7 to see.
Okay.
I got a question for you regarding your legislation ties. What kind of discussions are going on regarding helping HOAs recover maintenance fees regarding the upkeep of properties while a property is maybe going through a process of a foreclosure or whatever? The bank takes over the properties. We wind up facing a situation where we might get 2 years back, but it could be that we're losing thousands of dollars on other fees because the banks somehow
They're just
have
stalling.
have avoided it.
Yeah.
And is the legislature is anybody looking at this, or the banks have just got too much
Yeah, I
money?
know. We have the gentleman who's now working with us out of our Tampa office, Sean Brown, is also very active in legislation.
And I am too, actually.
And Allison
In the
actually is
Florida
part of the Florida
Bar.
Bar. And so you have three of us in three different
Offices.
organizations, if you will, that all try to work together to do these things. There was legislation passed a couple of years ago, and I quite frankly haven't seen it be too beneficial. And maybe you have maybe you know a little bit more good experiences, but they did pass legislation which allowed associations to ask for an order to show cause, ask a judge to issue an order to show cause in a bank foreclosure to the bank as to why they're not pursuing and completing their foreclosure actions in a more rapid fashion. And that occurred, came in, I'm going to say it was like 13 or 14 again, as banks were still dragging their feet. There are a few that still take a couple of years, but many banks are definitely getting them done in 2 years or less.
Because in a development like this, where
Yeah.
we have 4 families in a building unit, okay,
Quad.
Yep.
in a quad, when a bank takes over, they seem to forget that there's any responsibility as far as maintaining the environment within the building itself, and yet we have 3
That's a
families
different story,
living
though,
there.
sir. If the bank has title,
If the bank
they are an owner like any other owner, and we will agree. Your management company will send them a demand letter requiring them to do what they're supposed to, just like it's any other owner. And if they don't respond, and I say give them a reasonable amount of time, but not get them to us, we will aggressively pursue them for what their responsibilities are, and if necessary, take them to court. They have no protections once they have title to the property. They are an owner like any other and obligated under your governing documents. The only exceptions might be, and again, this would be dictated by your documents, is they may not, if you had approval rights on sales or and your living leases, they may have an exception there. And the other would be when they take title, they may have limited liability as far as what they owe for past due assessments.
Under your old documents.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is one of the reasons why it's so important as a board, and I'll offer this to you. If you choose to go with us, great. If not, here's something for you to take. If you haven't already, establish a uniform policy on collections. And are you quarterly or monthly? Monthly. My opinion, no more than 60 days. And quite frankly, I think 45. And I'll tell you why. An owner doesn't pay January 1st. They don't pay February 1st. By February 15th, they're 45 days delinquent. They haven't paid 2 months. Under the law, you refer that to my office, we have to send a 45-day letter that we're going to place a lien. So that 45 days takes us through the rest of February, all of March, we're into April. They already are 4 months behind, and all we've been able to do under the law is send one letter. Then we can send the second 45-day letter where we're going to lien your home. That takes the rest of April, May. It's almost half the year before we're even thinking about foreclosure. So no one's rushing to foreclosure here. We just can't. And that's if you decided to create a policy that said, if you haven't paid by if you haven't paid by the 15th day of the second month, we're gonna. And by the way, you would send a first notice after they do on the first, late on the 10th, 15th. Okay, so they get the courtesy late notice, paid by the end of the month. They get a final, maybe 15-day notice that if you don't pay in full, we're going to refer you to the lawyers. So they've already gotten multiple notices. They're in my office, and we're doing it as, again, remember how I started, where we'll be as aggressive as the law permits and the board desires. We're not looking at foreclosure before June into July as it is under that. So if you decide, you know what, 45 is too close, we'll go 60, we'll push that back to definitely June, July. But I just want you to understand, if you do it that way, and what is your monthly ballpark?
$350.
Okay, so you send someone to my office after they're 2 months late, we're telling them you owe $700 plus $250. Palatable. If you're waiting a lot longer, they're getting an information. You now owe $1,500 plus the $250. It doesn't change. But that $1,500 is a much bigger number. The earlier we hit them, the faster they will make sure. And then all of a sudden, we're getting a lot more people paying after maybe one letter from our firm, maybe lien, and then eventually they'll hopefully stop because they don't want to pay the extra $250.
Well, we currently have, when they exceed $1,000, we lien the property. They get notice.
Well, they get first notice. They can't lien until
Right,
they get first
that's what I'm saying.
notice.
They
So
get
you're
the first.
going, but 1,000 is 3 months.
3 months.
Okay, so a little over. So you're past the 3-month period. So you decide. If it's become an issue, you might consider letting people know we're gonna, because of people taking so long. As far as I know, you're a big community. I think it's 524 homes. But the fact is, when you budget for 524 of you paying. You're all paying. I said everyone here, all of these owners in here are paying. Those who aren't, that's squeezing the budget and potentially forcing the rest of you to pick up that dime. So you might, if you're going to consider, you might consider cutting that back. And if you do, you'd have a board meeting. It's an agenda item. You discuss it. Motion, second, approve. And then you send a letter out to the owners. There's a change in the policy. If you are more than, let's say we go to say, if they're more than 60 days late, here's your window. Get current or contact management to at least discuss.
Right.
Otherwise, we're going to refer you to the lawyers, and you're going to be responsible for fees and costs.
Well, we just updated our documents, and now we have the ability to do that.
Right.
Before, it was not easy to make
Get
amendments.
Very obsolete documents.
And then back to your point about, the bank paying, as Michael said, obviously once they become an owner, it's on. They're responsible. During the time it takes for them to foreclose, when they filed and they're just dragging their feet, it could take 1, 2, 3 years.
We know.
It is difficult. They don't owe any money, but Sean, the attorney at our firm, has been working for years on legislation trying to make the banks pay during the pendency of their foreclosure after possibly 12 or 18 months. If they're going to take...
force them to
Exactly.
sell.
So we have
Well,
that.
at least to expedite.
We're all
Well, but
thinking about that, and it's sort of moved ahead. I don't know if it'll ever come to be.
The law bank, that's a great
But
point.
there
The
is
bank
that
lobbies are
proposal.
strong.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
well,
there has been some discussion, and there was just a 40% turnover in the House. We have 40 out of 120. There's whatever 40% of 120 is. I didn't do that.
Yeah,
The new freshmen, and they are much more open to hearing these things and recognizing the hurt, especially on homeowner associations. So it's not going to happen this session,
Sean
sir,
has
but
not,
that's something we should definitely discuss because they're going to be meeting January. Next year's January, so we start discussing these things in August.
But he's not giving up on it, so
No.
it'll continue on.
And he's
but
gonna-
keep in mind,
Yes.
we have been taking title to properties that are not in foreclosure, that are behind on assessments, and we are able to rent
Rent
them.
them.
That's great.
Right.
So-
And you want to do
That's the
that,
best thing you can do.
and you can do as long. And if the bank is going to sit back and not foreclose, great. You just keep renting. Don't worry about taxes. Don't worry about mortgage.
Right.
If a tax bill comes up, it's a
We'll
business
see,
call.
yeah.
How much is the taxes owed? How much are we making?
How much
Where's
time
the
do we
bank?
have
Right, how
left?
much time? And that's something we discuss
And
with you, and then it's a
exactly.
business decision. Because a lot of our clients will do that. They'll pay the taxes because they know they'll make that taxes back in 1 or 2 months of rent, and they're likely going to have the property for
another
12 months
couple
or
of years,
more.
yeah.
Right.
That's great. So you guys are on ball. You guys are on the right page.
Trying.
That's all you can do. That's why you get paid the big bucks.
Oh, yeah, right.
Well, listen, guys, we do want to thank you for coming. We have a lot of other business that's important on the agenda, but not that yours wasn't. We appreciate you coming. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Very informative, and again, we'll be making some decisions.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you
Thank you
very
very
much.
much.
All right.
If you do have any follow-up questions, don't hesitate. Both of our cards are in the folder.
Where's the law firm on military? Are you?
Military in Northlake. pretty
South of
much.
Northlake
It's
or
right
north?
across from Joseph's. It's on
Oh, okay.
It's in
No,
the
I-
AAA building.
I
you know
work,
where that
I
is?
work about 3-second drive from you. So that's why when I saw the street address, I'm
Well, you
fine
should
to-
come to some of our board certification courses
Well-
and the other courses in my office. I just taught one last night, so. Yeah.
And she's a lot of fun.
I had a lot of fun.
She takes interesting material and makes it entertaining.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
I saw a sense of humor there.
I do. I got everyone laughing. So
Thank you.
we try to have
Thank
fun
you so
with
much.
it to the extent we can.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You too.
Nice meeting you.
Let me shake some hands as
Oh,
well.
sure,
Have a good
thank you.
evening. Have a happy holiday.
Same here, happy
Yes, you too.
I see some Vincent.
Yes, that's true. Thank you. Nice to meet you as well.
Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Take care, thank you. Very interesting. Between the two of them, it's fascinating.
Yeah. All right, David, we want to get back to your report because we have some important issues we need to resolve tonight.
Okay, the roofs, Campany Roofing started their inspections and maintenance procedures, April 8th. As of April 12th, they completed inspection of 50 buildings. Of those 50 buildings, they do 2 hours per roof and any work they can do. Above and beyond that work, they've submitted 15 proposals for additional work that needs to be done on these roofs. It's everything from sealing around vent caps.
15 out of 50?
Yeah.
15.
Yeah, about a
So
third.
is it multiple proposals per roof, or are they in like?
No, it's
okay.
one proposal per roof.
Okay.
They want to know how to proceed, and part of this is our insurance carrier for our buildings is asking for, they've been asking from the beginning about information on our roofs and what we're doing and what.
Right.
They know we're getting the inspections right now
Did you get a total number on those 15
of how much they are, yes.
for the total?
Yes.
How much
We
it
don't
cost?
have it, we don't have that in here, right?
No, I didn't.
Okay, I know you're busy.
One second.
I'd like to see that too.
Well, he said that they ranged from a few $100s up to $2,300.
Well,
so
I'd like to know, are there 5 buildings that need just sealing? Are there 5 buildings that need this? I'd like to know,
Of the
see
15
the whole
buildings,
picture. Oh, okay.
$25,000 is what all 15 came up to, which is an average of $1,600 per roof. It goes from $515 as the lowest to $2,900 for the highest.
yeah.
And,
So on average, 60.
Well, this is the
Yeah.
reason we're having a maintenance program. We do have money in our reserves, and we have plenty of money in our roof reserves, but we've got about 400,000 in reserves.
yeah.
And
But
out of that, we can take 100,000 and move it to fences, which is, we're going to need to do that because we're replacing a lot more boards than we thought we were going to have to.
right, but I also believe as far as Campany Roofing goes, at least that's what I've always believed, there is a certain amount of money in operations for
Yes.
roof maintenance.
There
Right.
is the roof
Yeah,
maintenance
so we
and-
don't
and
need
we've
to
got
take
reserves
all of the
for-
money.
No, we don't.
out of
We may have to
roof
take
reserves.
some.
We take
Yes.
some.
Right.
But what-
And as long as, excuse me for jumping, as long as it's a community-wide project,
Right.
which this appears to be with at least 50 buildings,
Right.
then we can take the money from reserves.
Correct.
We cannot take it for 10 buildings. It has to be community.
Community-wide
When you
project,
figure
and we're
out-
going to complete it.
Yeah, this
within
year.
This
Yeah,
year.
it's probably going to end up being about,
They've only gotten through 50. There's
Yeah,
I
gonna be a lot
understand.
more.
there's
I understand.
131 altogether.
No
so-
kidding.
Yeah, so we got 81 more to go.
Yeah, so
So-
if it stays on this average, it's going to be about 40 to 50 roofs that are going to need some amount of
Right.
And
work
so
done.
far-
And with hurricane season coming, it's important that we get it done.
Yeah, as much
Have
as
they
we can.
described any of the damage in terms of
That's-
how extensive they are versus?
That's what he was getting
Like,
to.
what's the 2,900? What's
Yeah,
the
what was
extent of
that?
work?
Resealing, what else did you say? What were some of the others?
29.
A lot of them, it's edge repair.
Yeah.
Edge repair, yeah,
Right.
resealing.
Well,
edge
this
repair.
one's 2,200. It's perma-flashing both corners. The edge metal, scratch back 6 inches for 23 feet, prime drip edge, apply 6-inch scrim, top coat. So that's your your drip edge.
Right, that's where you get into the
And that's
more
where-
money when they have to go back about 6 inches, and depending on how many feet, determines the
Yeah,
price.
here's another one for, this is the 29, it's for 63 feet of
When you
drip
have
edge.
time, can you
Yeah.
scan that and email it to us so we can look at it?
Yeah, I can send each of
Right,
these to.
that's okay. Scan it and email, we can look at it.
Here's an
Whose
1800, it's
telephone?
for blisters in the field,
Oh, I don't know what that is. What's blister?
blistering on the,
Guys, can you stop
more
telephone?
edging.
Yeah,
Is that
what
your
is that?
phone?
Can that be turned off? Whoever's, yeah, thanks.
Yeah, it's mostly, there's a couple of them are,
All the dried up algae, something flaky stuff, so
they're cleaning that all off and they're cleaning the
right, but
drains
what's
now.
the cause of that? It must be standing water, so
It's-
why standing water? That's just because the drains are clogged?
Because the roofs don't completely drain, it'll get some standing
Right,
water. Then
right.
you get the algae plugs and drains,
Right.
and then it gets more standing water and causes, so yes.
Well, also
It's-
leaves
Leaves blow up there.
Leaves blow on our roofs just like they do on our concrete,
Yeah.
and they clog the drains, and that's how we have
Yeah.
the inside problem.
But it's kind of common
Well, we
to
should,
have the standing water all the time. If they don't
Yes.
drain properly, there's no way to correct that.
because it's a flat roof, it's just
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, it's just, it's the flat roof, it's the nature of it. Not all the water drains off
Right.
always, it's a,
But let me say this, and you know this too, and the board does. We used to have Campany Roof clean the roofs more frequently than we have now this time. We really are behind. We haven't done it, right?
Right,
Since we've been on the board.
right.
So we are a good 2 years past what.
well, now
we
they're
should.
doing it once a year,
Yes, right, but prior, we had
Yeah,
a couple of
haven't
years
done it.
lapse with
where it was only
the
done hit or
custodian
miss.
and Art taking over, yeah. So
Okay.
we may see an improvement once all the drains are.
Can we have a
cleaned.
list of the buildings, what is need, there's 15 buildings, is
Yeah.
it units or all
It's
buildings?
the whole building.
All buildings?
It's one flat roof.
Yeah,
Yeah.
can we have that list, suppose building 20, building 25? Uh-huh.
I'll get you all that information.
Well, thank you very much.
Great, great.
I'll do it up on a sheet and email it to all of
Yeah,
you.
terrific, thanks.
Now, how do you want to go about doing this? They're going to submit these once a week until they're done. They're going to be a couple more weeks doing it. Guessing we're going to have around 40 to 50. What Campany would like to do is get them all signed and approved and have the board tell them how
many-
much money they could spend per month.
Right.
And then they can go through them, look at the worst ones, get those done first. You know, might only be able to do 2 this month to get the bad ones done, and then when they get down to the smaller ones, then we might be able to do 5 or 6.
Right, that
I
was
don't
my
know if you
thoughts,
wanna
because
spend-
we gotta do the worst ones first.
I don't know if you
Well,
want to
do-
spend
do-
5,000 a month, if you want.
Anybody have the financials here that could look at the line item for fences?
We need to do it as soon as possible because of
operations.
hurricane, maybe. We need to do as soon as possible, not just 2 roofs per month.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you also have to stay within your budget, and you know what?
Well,
I
no,
don't want to throw 50 work orders for Campany at you in the next 3 weeks and have you guys go, where the hell are we going
Well,
to
no,
get
but you
$60,000?
just mentioned that the 15 of them would run in the $25,000 range.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right,
It's
so
all
let's address that first.
fix them, it's all,
And
yeah.
take that money, if we have it enough in operations, take that out of operations.
Because
Don't
now-
touch reserves yet. We do
Right.
reserves last when we are running out of money. That is the line
Because
item
of,
for.
yes, rain will start right now, it's the season
Yeah.
of rains, they need to as soon as
Yeah,
possible,
let's
they
address the
cannot work when
15 that
it's...
they
What did you
determine.
want to know about the roof?
There's a line item in the, if you look under operations.
On the balance sheet or on the?
The first page of the financials, there's a list of, it's titled operations, and there's several line numbers, and one of them will say roofs. One will say fences, one will say blah, blah. It's not reserves, it's under operations. When we created the budget, we put money in for these various categories. I just don't have, I don't print out the financials. 99 pages long.
yeah. Yes.
I don't print them out.
Okay, pause it. I'm sure we'll see it someplace.
Yeah, it's in the, yeah. Nobody, too bad we don't have the big laptop like Michelle had. That would be nice. That we can all read. I don't have any financials in.
No,
Oh,
just
you usually give me the first
the
five
first
pages.
section, yeah.
But
But
see, I.
Michelle had been doing it all, so I didn't,
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
being, didn't want to be redundant.
Yeah, but now
I've got to
we're
go
in
back to-
need of, until we have a new treasurer. we're-
Yeah.
What is need right now? We need decision to vote for the to spend $25,000 or what we need to do right now?
Well, it's going to tell us on the budget.
Well, Ruth, I'm looking at a number here, reserves.
No, not reserves.
Not reserve.
One-
Not reserve.
one
The page
Under
before it.
operations.
Because we need address as soon as possible. Yeah.
It should say roofing,
Well, if
maintenance
it's in
and repair.
operations, Campany can just present the bill.
It's all, yes.
And we don't have to vote on that because
Yeah.
it's money available in
Yeah,
operations. That doesn't require a vote. It's when you go into the reserves that you require.
Okay,
our
and
vote.
David, you can, they start do it, it's all, you know.
Well, if this
Well,
month,
predicated, I'm looking at income and expense statements, and I'm looking at roof repairs. And right now, we're running about a $17,000 deficit to what we budgeted.
may I look at that and find the line item I'm talking about?
You may.
Thanks, appreciate it. Okay, now that's maintenance, there we go. Okay, under operations. I'm under your eyes because this is small print for me. There's behind plumbing, there should be a line, roof, I saw roof repairs.
Right there.
Okay, so we budgeted this year,
50,000.
we budgeted $50,000 for roof repairs. So we can,
We've spent 21.
yeah, and that's the current budget. Year to date is what you want, what we've spent year to date.
No.
Yeah, you have to come across. Year to date, the actual 42. That's since we're in the hole.
That's what I said.
17,000. Oh, you know what? The maintenance contract.
It was
That
30,000.
was 30. Well, yeah, that was the
The
maintenance
maintenance
contract.
contract came out of operations
Yeah.
for Campany. Okay, all right, so we didn't budget enough, obviously, last year.
Well, we weren't.
It's,
planning on
we cannot, it
All
cannot be
right, so
paid for
now
some
we go to
repair.
reserves, now we go to reserves. And not the funding, but the actual reserves, okay. And, okay, that's trees.
right above it.
Roof, okay. We have 125,000. 29, 25? 29, 7, boy, 39, whatever the heck it is, that's why I
Okay.
do financials.
So about 130, which
Right.
will be, it should be enough to do them all.
Right,
Yes.
do the project. Thank you, Joe.
Which will hopefully prevent 99% of any future leaks.
Well, and
Well,
what it'll
well,
do
that's
is
the
it'll take a lot of that operating money. If we put 50,000, that's going to be more than enough because they're going to be,
Well, yes,
They'll
if
be
we
maintained
have the
next year.
roofs upgraded this year,
right.
then our costs should be less for the next 2 or 3 years. But I do recommend that we do have them cleaned,
yeah,
less
they're-
than
Once a
every
year.
2 years. Yeah, I was
Well,
gonna
they
say-
do it once a year. If they do, they
Yeah.
inspect once a year
Well,
with
they
this
inspect,
program.
but I mean
Cleaning
actual
aside,
cleaning.
where do we stand and what you need from us right now to go forward?
How to start with the repairs. If you guys say, okay, we've got the money,
We have the money.
submit the 15, have them start
Yeah.
with the worst, work their way down.
We'll have them do the 15 first, correct,
Yeah.
guys?
Yeah.
And then the remainder between
We'll-
15 and 50, let's get those done as soon as possible after we get those first 15 done.
Yeah.
So maybe next month. I
So
mean,
you're-
we
When
might
they
just-
will
Okay.
inspect,
Sooner rather than
when they
later.
will
Don't need 'em-
inspect
don't need
the
'em
rest
all.
of the roofs.
They're
No, we
in
don't have to
process
vote.
right
In
now.
process,
Unless it's
they can
something
repair
else.
separately with
Yeah.
expense.
Different crew.
Then we should vote.
Well, if it's
okay.
going to come out, it's going to come out of reserve.
It is because we've used
Gonna
the
have-
other
right,
for the
yeah,
for
we'll
the
have to-
Right,
contract.
so we should vote.
We should vote,
Okay.
yes, yeah.
All right, so Mary Lou, you want to make the motion?
I make a motion that in order to pay Campany Roof for the 15 roofs he's going to start the major repairs or updates on, that we authorize $25,000,
$178.68.
$178.68 to be taken out of the roof reserves to pay that bill.
Okay, I'll second the motion. All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh,
okay.
Okay, unanimous. Okay. All right, so 15 people will have, 15 buildings will be really nice shortly. We'll go on from there.
Well, the other ones are in fairly good shape that they've
Yeah,
shown,
well,
so
that's why I'm not expecting another
Okay.
$25,000 bill right away.
I'm gonna try and go
But
quickly.
is it inspection include in our maintenance in
Yes.
contract? It's included, we don't pay extra.
That's already done,
Okay,
the
right,
maintenance
right.
or the inspection.
Okay.
Okay,
Balance is in our budget for the rest.
okay,
5-2-0.
ready to move on?
Okay,
Yes,
now,
yes.
yeah. Do you have anything else, David?
I've got
Yes, yes.
Yeah, he
yes.
does.
Okay,
a
go
few.
ahead.
It's probably gonna cover most of what we wanna talk about.
Okay.
Trees. Are we gonna trim the hardwoods and the palms this year pre-hurricane season?
I think we should do one. Do we have to do one?
Well, the hardwoods are really getting out of control, some
They
of
weren't
them.
done last year and they're getting
Yeah.
pretty,
I can attest to that.
And the
yeah.
palms were done last year.
But the palms should be done every year
Well, the
because,
ones touching the mansard should be. The ones on the
So-
open property don't
I think we can look
necessarily.
at that based upon
Yeah.
what is the need. I mean, if it's clear
Okay.
that at present danger that something could happen because a tree's got way overgrown, then we could address doing a clipping.
Right,
okay?
right.
How they
We
will
don't have
charge
to go
us
through
for
a
that?
major cut, but we
Right,
could
exactly.
Right.
take the hazard away,
okay,
okay?
I'll
But-
try and get,
But how we will pay for that? How they will charge for that if they suppose some tree not touch the roof?
Well,
They
well,
will charge,
we got-
not charge that.
We
How-
do
how will
every year.
control,
We trim
they
the
work?
palms every year.
David, you could give us a list of trees that
I
are
can-
problematic, okay?
yeah, I can
And
go
this
through
way,
and
then
see.
we can list those
And we can
locations and
get
then
proposals
It'll
for
be the
those.
ones
Right.
that touch the mansard.
I know, I
Yeah,
know.
those are the big problem.
Okay,
Because
all
they
right.
rub in the
Okay.
wind.
The dead rosewood tree over on 55th Way.
Right, I think we had.
I've got 3
Is-
proposals. A cut above was $995 and that included sod replacement.
Yes, yes.
Landscape manager was $995, did not include, and All Brothers was $750, and that did not include sod replacement.
You-
So we need to get that tree down.
Can we find out what,
Well, the size.
the sod shouldn't cost $250?
Yeah, it's gonna be nominal, it's gonna come up to
No, no,
$250
no.
or $200.
No, but wait, the
So
second
then they're
one-
all right in the same
Yeah, and
ballpark?
I would go stay with cut above to get
Me
it
too.
done.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Why,
because.
why we not take All Brothers? The sod is very cheap.
Right.
And-
No, no, but the point is.
It's not that, go ahead.
He's charging, is he the third one?
Yeah,
He's charging $750 with no sod,
Yeah.
okay? And you're saying sod is cheap, but you're forgetting the going to purchase the sod and the labor to put the sod
Right.
I
down.
understand, but
And that's going to be at least $250.
when they plan, when they will rule now a loan and they will just fix it, what means sod? What means they, what they will do?
If they tear up the sod, when they take the tree down, and
but
finish the root repair, then they put new sod over the top of that damaged area. Not part of it, but over the whole damaged area.
Yeah, but the area, it's not so big area.
Well, you don't know how
Well,
big
we don't know, I don't know what.
80 cents a little, foot of that
No, it's a
sod.
big circle, it's.
No, I understand, but how many? No, maybe five or
we-
Well,
$5.
we're not going to nickel and dime over
No, $5 or
$250.
How large a girth
$250.
is on this tree that we're talking about? That they would take down?
Yeah, yeah. Plus the ground,
Yes.
plus the,
What kind of tree you
It
talk
might be
about
a
to
But you
remove?
see,
4
when
inch
they-
diameter.
right, when they dig it up. when
What
they-
kind of tree you
Yeah,
talking
gotta grind
about?
the stone.
Okay, listen, when they dig it up,
Yeah.
they're going to damage some of the grass around it. They
Yeah.
can't help
And
it.
they're
Ah,
gonna
you
have
talk
to-
about
They have
They
to
have
grind the
grinder-
stumps. They're
their
going to have to
grinder's
grind the
gonna
I
take-
stumps.
understand, but what project you talking about? You talking
Just
about
the
Just
cutting
the
tree?
redwood, just the
The
redwood.
one tree.
One
The red
rosewood
one.
tree that's dead,
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
the one on 55th.
It's not
Way.
like it's times
not-
20.
Okay.
Want me to make a motion? Are you?
All right, I'll make a motion that we let a cut above take care of that tree.
The rosewood tree.
The rosewood.
On what
Second
street?
it.
50.
Okay,
On
okay,
55th Way,
55th Way.
with sod and
With-
grinding of the
with-
roots,
yes,
that's
that's
imperative.
Grinding with sod.
I mean,
Grinding, they do not grind, none of them grind all the surface roots. They will grind the stump
Below the level.
below the level and
but
fill
if
it
they
over.
see any,
But-
trust me on this one, because I'll go nuts. if they see any of the stumps that are right at the surface of the grass around it, like on my front lawn,
Yeah.
where when they cut the grass, there's the old stump.
The roots.
The roots,
Yeah,
the
I know
roots,
what
stump
you mean.
roots, yeah, the roots.
Yeah.
What
They've got to
building-
grind
yeah.
any roots that are interfering with our grass, with the growing of the grass.
Well, plus
What
their
building?
trip hazards.
54th Way, what building?
55th way.
55th. it's,
55th, what building?
5-5.
Yeah, because it was not on the list. What,
Yeah, it was.
what
No, it's
did you
been
give
right
us?
along, it's
Yeah,
been
it
right
was.
along.
On the list 50.
The rosewood, it was the
Yeah.
one rosewood tree.
Okay.
Because
It's the
every-
19th of the 18 ficus. and
Yeah,
one,
right, because
It was number
I
19.
look
All
at,
right, so that one's
Did we
resolved.
vote?
I saw
Did we
ribbon
vote?
on
We didn't really
66.
finish the vote.
Yeah,
No,
so
we need a vote.
we need a vote, so
I
all in
second it.
favor?
Okay.
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Okay.
unanimous. Cut above gets the job. You tell them,
Okay,
eyes will be watching.
It's new list because I
that's,
don't have
that's
that.
the same list, I just retyped it and put it in a
Okay,
different
but I have the
Wait,
little
wait,
different
Natalie.
list.
Now, may I
We've
just,
had a vote.
Okay.
It's
may I
finished.
jump in
Done,
quick?
it's all.
No, we've had the vote, we
Yeah,
gotta move
no,
on.
but we have to move on to also say, right here and now, that Florida law requires that we
replacement.
replace the tree within 90 days of digging it up.
Right.
So that needs to be.
Well, and you're on the landscape committee,
That's
so
why I'm saying
you'll
it.
find something suitable and,
And let me tell you that if it's, the roots are are not ground down to a level,
Right.
they're not gonna get another tree in the same spot.
You
They're gonna have to
can't
go
put it
off.
in the same spot.
No, you
But-
will.
I'm telling you this, I know it.
Yeah.
in the same
No.
area.
It'll be in the area.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
In the
yes.
area,
I
and
don't
then
want anybody
more,
pointing out, you didn't put the tree back.
yeah,
No, no,
and it'll be
no, no.
in a more
We understand.
logical area.
All right.
also.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes.
There'll be much more thought.
Okay.
Landscaping. Mary Lou and I met with John and Damon last week. I think we got some stuff through to them.
Yeah, I saw some improvement
I
today.
saw some improvement through their cutters, their trimmers, but they still need to do some work. I've gotten several complaints
Well,
still.
they did today, and.
I saw they were mowing
Yeah,
today.
they were mowing today, and I will say one thing, the tree rings or tree bowls, whichever you want to call them.
Yeah,
They didn't trim the hedges behind my.
No, it isn't hedge day.
that was
It
hedges
isn't-
last.
That was,
They didn't do it when they were and cut that.
Well, I'm saying last week.
oh,
they
but
did
they're
hedges.
not gonna prune the.
Okay, I don't want to
Okay.
No,
go
no,
on.
they're not gonna
Okay.
prune the back of the hedges now. They're, when the fences are done, they're letting the hedges grow out for a couple of months. Because they were all
Is- I
shaved
I
in
don't
the
have my
back.
fences painted yet.
His fence isn't
But
But
done.
that's what I'm saying, you don't
Okay.
wanna keep cutting back the back of the
Okay,
hedge.
that's, we're not gonna get into
Okay,
how
all right.
trimming's being done yet.
Okay,
We're just-
okay.
it's a work in progress.
Thank
Right.
you.
John and Damon said they're even gonna take their people and do a training day with
There
their
you go.
crew
Yes.
to
Right.
explain to them exactly what we want and how we want it.
Even the 12-year-olds?
Yeah, right,
I have a
right.
question about that.
The,
What's with
The
the young,
petite
what's
women.
with the young, no, there's a couple of boys
I haven't
last
seen
week. I swear to God, it can't be more than 12 years
I'll
old.
put my INS jacket on.
And handling equipment. I mean,
I haven't seen them, but
I
I will.
haven't.
handling
I will
machinery.
address
I've seen teenagers.
Now, the other day-
but not the kids.
The other day, one was outside my building, he was just raking. But last week, two different ones were handling machinery. And I'm thinking to myself, this just can't be. I mean,
I'll bring that up to Damon
I mean-
directly. And
And they're definitely not 18. That I can guarantee it. I asked the kid, I go, how old are you? Of course, I don't know
no,
English.
no comprende.
Walk with Maria Burgos or Pat
Okay.
Messer,
David,
and
Okay.
they'll parlay,
Did you talk with them to
speak Spanish.
put taller workers when they trim
Yes.
hedges? Yeah, it's
Yes.
important. Who will replace hedges? Did you already decide what company
No,
will?
no. That's a big
That's gonna be a
production.
work in
was it?
progress.
Okay.
We're gonna work on areas at a time. Mary Lou did ask them she got to talking to Damon about a sightline sound barrier hedge on the top of the berm that runs along
51st
51st Way between 51st and Village.
and 95.
And 95. But
Yeah, it's important.
to help cut down the noise and
Well,
the site over there.
we are the most exposed.
Well, I know,
51st,
but that's,
I'm just saying.
I'm just saying, this was a,
If you stood
So-
in our mailboxes,
We got it.
you would see. I'm sorry, dear, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I mean, our sight lines along our development of Sandalwood Lake South reach far than the area that you're referencing.
Well-
So we can't start looking at that as a short-term remedy. We need to look at a long-term
This
solution.
is a long-term
No,
solution.
no, it isn't, because West Palm Beach has got a or the state has a responsibility to address Village Boulevard and what they did, and that is being addressed right now within the POA.
Right.
The problem is we can't start spending money to do noise abatement when it's not going to do anything. You're talking about a small area. It's not going to accomplish anything. I understand if you would like to have it, so would I if I lived over there.
All right, may I butt in to tell you that 2 homeowners were trying to sell their units, and when the people came to look at it and stood on the balconies and saw 95 and saw Village Boulevard with no trees protecting them, both people walked away, and the unit has not been sold yet.
But 17 trees was not replaced after hurricane. It means we need to put trees there just
Well, no,
because we must
there were
replace.
no
Okay.
trees, no, but no trees.
Yeah,
were
yeah, but
talking
when you
about.
start
I
putting
just-
trees there,
This
so-
is just one of the things that we're looking into. Okay, nothing is being decided yet.
No, this is just
I'm
affecting
getting a couple
25.
proposals to
yeah.
see what this would
Just
cost.
keep your priorities.
It'll also give us an idea of what it's gonna cost per linear foot to replace hedging.
Yeah, because
Okay.
we also
That's just
have
what we're looking
scattered
to.
throughout the community, which we showed Damon. We have decorative hedges, or divider hedges, whatever you want to call them, that have been totally destroyed with whitefly and
Okay.
are going to need to be replaced. And
We've discussed this before.
right, and we've
We'll
talked about
get
this
into this
before.
later.
So this was
That's-
just, this hedge on 51st would just be the start.
Yeah, but we
of
need
multiple-
address replacing trees because we did not 90 or 60 days we did not replace 2 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we're gonna start working on that. We're
Are
gonna
these
start.
the estimates you've been
Yes.
getting?
And another question, this is what sick tree 6107. Do you know that dying? It's button
Yeah, I've looked at that.
This is they
Got
drying.
them, I know.
And
I'm working on
we
that.
need they should replace the tree because it's embarrassing.
Okay.
They
Concrete
responsible.
repairs. You guys asked me to go around and look at my worst areas. A lot of our worst areas aren't even close to where trees are. Very good video that you sent this time. That was
Yeah.
showing a lot of
It was good.
what
Yep,
it is.
very good,
Um,
thank you.
My recommendation right now would be, don't even think about cutting down these trees. Let's go in and get these worst of these. There's places where there's 3 to 4 inch concrete where I don't know if it's sinking underneath, that it's rocking up, or
What I'd like you to
these are breaking
find out
up.
for us, okay, based upon what were the specs when they were laying in the concrete. I thought I heard something 4 to 6 inches should have been allowed. I'm looking at some of those cracks. They're not,
don't
they look like they're 3 inches. Okay,
Okay,
or anything.
I'll look into that. But I recommend,
Should be 6 inches.
I
Yeah.
recommend that we concentrate on the tripping hazards, the worst of them,
Yeah.
Right,
and
now,
get these done. And when we do these, that we're gonna bust up the concrete, we'll see if there's roots that are a major issue there. Then we can flag that tree and say, okay, we're gonna take this one out because we can see this one is causing damage, it's gonna cause more.
I'd like to make one observation here regarding this root situation.
Uh-huh.
Roots have a volume, okay? If we were up north, I'd say, okay, you get a heaving and the roots will push up against the concrete. We're not the north, we don't get freezing down here.
No,
So if the roots are holding its place, the only thing that would cause the soil to drop is some washout,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah,
that
I know.
caused it, which was allowed in the crack. And that's why I was looking at some of the stuff that you had taken
Right.
photos of.
It looks
It
like
clearly indicates that it's some other thing other than
Yeah.
the roots.
and I have a suggestion on that. And
Okay.
I got the idea from Marie Burgo's place.
okay.
When she was having problem with the sinkhole under her unit,
Right.
they came in and they shot styrofoam under there to secure it,
Yeah.
to shore it up. Can we do the same thing on some of these areas of concrete?
We can look into that, yes. To
See,
one
get
that
some-
look like they're
Here.
sinking and
Wonderful.
they're tipping.
That way
Yeah.
you don't have to break up the concrete, you don't have to,
Yeah,
good
it's
concrete.
much cheaper.
Well,
Yeah.
it'd be a lot less
providing
expensive.
that
Very
the
good.
concrete is not a trip and fall area. because then
Exactly.
that
Well,
has to
well,
be replaced.
yeah, I understand if
Yeah.
it's
Where it's
broken
breaking,
up and
where
Because
it's,
you want a lawsuit, or do you want to
No.
spend money on styrofoam?
well, no, I don't want either, but we have to do one or the other.
But when we will address that, so we start repair the concrete?
I think I had to start on that right away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get the tree count to get these trees trimmed before hurricane season and working on the concrete.
How much money do we have, Mary Lou, for that line item, concrete?
Oh, we need,
Joe has the,
I think that one's still
so
pretty
important.
solid.
no, we usually do
Ah.
those.
I know, I'm sorry.
Mr. Rocker,
That's all right.
do we need
I
the
didn't
signs?
think that
It's
she-
like below $10 signs that we buy.
Yeah, I
that-
saw your email.
Yeah, I
Michelle
can
always had it all.
buy
Trees and
that sign and I
infrastructure
can
looks like about
myself.
149,000.
They have to be right where
balance
the-
for
Problem
reserve
is,
balance.
if you put it
In
at the
trees or
beginning of the way,
concrete?
beware of trip hazards,
It does not work, right?
does not work. You have to have it all around where the concrete, bad concrete is.
Okay, can I move on while
Yes.
we're looking for
Yeah,
that?
go ahead.
Pressure washing of the mansards, I got 3 bids. Roof Be Clean, which was the last people that did it however many years ago,
They've done it for years.
$18,935.
Yep.
Green Earth, who did the same proposal using the same products, $36,600.
Okay,
And
let's
Spray
check
Tech was $50,000.
Yeah, so
Okay,
roof
let-
be clean sounds like the winner.
That's the one I suggested.
Okay,
Not
18,000.
bragging, but I did suggest.
Yeah, I
that you
remember.
try Ruth
Okay, let
Clean.
vote decide.
Okay, so, Mary Lou, since you recommended them, we'll let you make the motion.
Yeah, I will
Hold on,
second.
hold on.
So Roofy Clean is using what water?
They used their, right here. They are using fire hydrant. They're getting a meter,
Right.
hooking to the fire hydrant.
And the others are using
They're
what
all-
water?
No, they're all using, I think, the same, if I read right.
Yeah, they're all using,
In other words, they're coming in with a tank and they're just using the fire hydrant. to fill the
Right,
tank.
right.
to fill the tanks,
To
yes.
fill their tanks, right. That's the way it's been done in the past by Ruth Be Clean.
Roof Be Clean, hydrant meter rental through City of Palm Beach, $595.
Right.
And then every time they want to move it, they've got to have somebody come out. and
We've
move
got
it.
$35,000 for roof repairs, or concrete repairs, I should say.
Oh, no, oh, concrete, okay.
Okay.
That was what we budgeted.
Well,
Then
and
there's something-
then there's something in reserves.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I will decide on that
Fire hydrant, we
roof
still
washing.
get billed for
No.
water.
Yeah.
No, they put the meter on.
Yeah,
The fire hydrants are before our meters.
right,
They put their own meter on.
right.
They're charged by the meter that they're using. They're gonna fill their tank.
Charge.
The contract.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
David, I have
That's
a
what I'm saying.
question.
You're still getting billed for the water, but who's getting the bill?
No,
They
their,
Roof Be
their
Clean.
Roof Be Clean pays for
Yeah.
the
Our
water.
meters don't register.
Our
They're
re- yeah,
putting
their
their
meter-
meter between theirs
Their
and
meter
ours.
overrides
So
our
they know how
meter.
it works, because when we did our pressure cleaning out here, I ran down to the city to find out what the heck was going on with, they were using our water, and we could have gotten the meter to put on the fire hydrant, but my point is, it's not free,
No,
Somebody's
they're
getting
paying
billed.
for it.
but they're getting the
Yeah,
bill.
it's
That's
in-
all I wanted,
Their
that's all I
meter,
wanted to
their
clarify.
meter overrides our meter.
Yeah.
Is it
I
included
understand
18,000?
that.
Oh,
I
okay.
understand
Is
that.
it include?
I just want to know who's
Yes.
getting the bill.
It's
Includes.
included in
Okay.
the cost.
Okay,
No,
okay,
no.
let's.
Well, they'll get
That's all
the
I wanted to
meter,
know.
whoever gets the meter is gonna be billed for the water. They
Right.
get the meter.
And their
and put-
meter is put on our fire hydrant,
Mary Lou?
overriding our meter.
Okay,
Okay,
the
all right,
motion.
make the motion,
I'm
Mary.
I'm
going to make
second.
a motion that we accept the contract bid for Roof Be Clean to pressure wash our metal mansards.
And,
Okay.
Okay,
Natalia,
now, does this
second.
include balconies or
Yes.
not?
Yes.
Oh, well. geez, that's
Wonderful.
still-
Oh, you didn't tell me that. It
Well,
includes
it's-
power washing the balconies?
Wow,
The concrete on the balconies?
great.
That's a bargain then.
Yeah. That's a no-brainer.
Okay.
Okay, so Mary Lou made the motion.
I'm second.
Okay,
Yes,
all in
okay.
favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Hallelujah.
Okay.
Hey, we're getting things done tonight, guys.
Yes, it's the best meeting.
Part-time maintenance man was fired 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, well, let's not do with one for a while.
Okay. and
That's
that-
what I suggested. I said, but we'll let the board vote.
Okay, the only issue is Edna's gonna be on vacation for 2 weeks in June, last week of June, first week of July.
So can we get a guy from,
Camps doesn't have.
No,
No, I'm saying
they're-
from one of
they're
these-
working,
A
yeah.
temp.
Yeah,
service?
a temp service, yeah.
We can look into that.
We've done that before.
Yeah, and
We've done that.
Edward was so good. It's amazing.
So
I
why-
saw
why was the
he
park-
doing very good job.
Edva?
Edward,
Couldn't get to work on time, missed
Right.
he twice was a no call, no show, and then the week that he got fired, he was no call, no show all 3 days.
Oh my God.
And then he called up on Sunday and wanted to know if he could come back to work on Monday.
It means we need temporary worker right now, right?
Well, you'll have to get
Temporary.
them quickly to get, if Edna's going
All
to.
right.
Well, there are these temporary places that they've
Yeah.
got guys just.
Yeah, we want to make sure who you're getting and you bonded.
Well,
We got
they're bonded,
equipment in
yeah,
there
they
that
have,
we
well,
got to
he
be concerned
knows
about.
that they're bonded and all that.
David, very important. Tell
Well,
that,
we use at Bears when we need
I know,
is
trying-
manpower.
Manpower, that's one of the names.
Right.
David Edward work very good. Every time,
those
like
lots
he's
on
non-stop
the
working.
I'm
He's so
very
good. Yeah.
happy with that.
He's so good.
We have
Yeah.
to keep moving because our owners
Yeah.
get.
Right, right. That's
I've got one more thing.
Okay,
Okay.
one more.
All right.
Yeah.
And that's just to let you
Want to
know
change
that the backflow meters were tested a couple weeks ago.
We got a lot.
We
of
had
money.
6 that needed repair. That work will be done on Wednesday, April 24th. Only one area needs to be shut down, and that's over by 67th Way. The other ones can be repaired live. They can shut one
How
section
many,
down.
6?
Yeah,
6,
Okay.
so that's not bad. And
Yeah.
that water will be off for what, 2 hours by average?
yeah, they said about 2.
All right.
Quick question, did you see that really need
Yes.
replacement? You're sure?
Yes.
Very good.
Okay.
6 is nothing. compared
All
to
right.
how
So
many
we can
have.
let the owners have some time here. There's a couple items that I neglected at the top of the agenda here, and that is the verification
Yeah.
of proof of the meeting.
Yeah, it was posted twice, but the last one was the 15th.
Okay.
Okay, and then approval of the minutes of March, and that should be the 21st, not the 18th. Okay, so,
Yeah, you have
it's on.
March 18th. It's the 21st.
Yeah.
Right, because I have them here.
Okay, yeah,
I
there
got my
it is.
handwritten ones here, March 21st, yeah.
okay, did everybody have a chance to?
No, I
Yes,
didn't look at them.
okay.
I haven't had time to review them.
Yeah,
But if
yes,
you all-
it's
I can
okay.
abstain. I mean, you can all vote, I can abstain.
Yeah, okay, so
It's good.
I'll make a motion that they're approved.
I'm second.
Okay, all in
Natalia
favor?
second.
Aye.
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 I'll
Yeah.
abstain.
Okay,
2 abstains, 3 ayes, the motion is fine.
okay.
Carried. Okay.
The minutes for the April 11th meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that was March 21st. It should have been, he said, you have 18 here, but it was 21st. Okay, now this we haven't done yet, right?
Yeah.
Wait, hold on, 3 yes, 2 abstain. 321, okay. This is just in case you're tick for it, guys.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, so now, Larry, you've got April 11th, the special meeting.
Right, the special meeting of April 11th, did you ever get that? You was able to figure it out?
Yeah, it's all,
Okay,
it
all
was
right.
sent to everybody.
But today, right?
Yeah.
No, that was sent yesterday.
Oh, well, I'm not going to read it.
All right, so did anybody have a chance to review
Yeah.
that? Okay, so,
Did you have any questions with it?
No.
No?
So there was a good.
okay, so anybody want to make a motion to approve those minutes?
All right, may I just jump in quick, just in your memory, were fences, the scope of work discussed? Because that was discussed at that April special meeting.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
That's in the minutes?
That's in the
Yeah,
minutes.
And also the, both motions carried that we made at the meeting of the 11th. I won't go into detail, but there were 2 motions that were made. They both were voted aye. Is that in the minutes of April 11th?
Yeah, about a lawyer, which is.
Yeah,
Right,
she
yes.
said we
Yeah,
can discuss
motion
it.
carried.
Motion carried.
Motion, yeah.
Okay,
two-
there-
Yeah, everything
motion
done,
carried.
she.
Then that's fine.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
needed to be in there was in there.
Yeah, good.
Okay, so,
All right. so
Okay, I
vote.
motion that we approve minutes for the meeting
April
April 11th.
Okay,
Yeah,
all in
special
favor?
meeting.
A second, I'll second.
second. Okay, all in favor?
I'll abstain, I haven't read them. I don't know.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay. 41,
wow,
aye.
we've done so much today.
Okay, now, the gentleman, and I'm sorry, what's your name again?
Mohammed.
The 2 important.
Mohammed?
There.
Okay, Mohammed
Mary
is,
Lou,
Excuse me.
Mohammed has agreed, and he agreed at the meeting last week, that if he could be treasurer of the association without being a board member, that he would be happy to do the treasurer's work. I checked it out with our council, and he's an owner. He doesn't have to live here to be on the board, and he doesn't have to be on the, he has to live here to be on the board, but he doesn't have to be on the board to be treasurer. So he's agreed to do that work. If you want to introduce yourself to these, or maybe most of them know you.
But may we ask
I've
questions?
been attending for the last 3 years. Even if I don't live here, I'm more than an owner. I've owned 2 properties here.
Okay,
So
very good.
I've bought since 2011, 2012.
Very good. And all I
else?
can say is thank you.
Well, may we ask the gentleman to just give us 2 minutes
Yeah.
of his experience that qualifies you to
Okay,
be a
I'm
treasurer?
Mohammed, why don't you stand up and do
My
that?
name is Mohammed Bilal Kabir. I'm an electronics engineer. I work for the U.S. Navy. I work for, we manage $160 million contracts in Bahamas. We do testing for the U.S. Navy involving helicopters, airplanes and stuff. And I get so much financial with experience in finance. I don't handle every day, but I have contractors that I monitor. They're the one who handle the stuff for us. I'm just the watchdog for the government.
Okay.
Okay, I've been doing this for 19
If
Now
you
you
need a
can-
helping hand in the Bahamas, let me know.
When you have time, would you be kind enough to create a resume for us, which can be put in the file, the association?
You mean my
file?
resume?
Your
Sure,
resume.
yeah, no
If you
problem.
would do that for us, so we have a
Sure.
record of your, your history, your skills, whatever,
Sure.
just so that we are justified,
No,
And-
skills are a little bit need to know basis.
That's what I'm afraid of.
Yeah, now Mohammed, could I get some contact information from you?
My phone number is 401-580-3047. And
3047?
Yes,
You repeat that one more time for me?
401-580-3047.
Right, 3047.
And my email is mbelakbir@gmail.com.
Okay, run that one more time.
B as in boy?
B as in boy, ELAK, B as in boy again, @gmail.com.
At Gmail, okay. So M, boy, Edward, Larry, Adam,
Yes.
Kenneth, boy, at Gmail.
IR.
Oh, IR, just IR.
All right.
IR.
Okay, and David is our property manager, as you know, Mohammed. and
Yeah, I've been in contact with him many times.
David, I guess you can give him Earl's name and a number if he has questions, Earl's extension. If you
Yeah.
have any questions,
I'd
and then,
like to get some little time to get.
Yes.
I've seen the reports before, so just
Right.
so I
And
can
if-
actually get a.
And of course, I'd like to just jump in very quickly and say
Sure.
that out of respect, because you're not going to be on the board, there are portions of the financials that are purely for the information of the board of directors. And in your capacity, you're going to see that, and we would ask
Maybe I handle
you
secret stuff
do
all
not
the time.
discuss it.
that's what I was going to say, he's a watchdog for the government.
Yeah, well, I'm the watchdog for us.
Maybe you don't want to be,
Huh?
Yeah.
you would like to be treasurer or you don't want?
No, I had offered, in case
If somebody,
Mohammed would
okay,
not be
okay.
able to, I offered to do it.
Because this question maybe in other people want to be on the board or
Well, I'm
Join
hoping,
us.
I'm hoping I would be a volunteer here tonight to serve on the
We're
board.
looking for a secretary.
We need help.
I really need somebody to take notes and take 2 minutes for me.
Yeah, we really need help if someone would like to serve, even if you only agree till the end of the year. Just to, all they have to do is come to a meeting once a month, take notes on the meeting, or record it, like you're recording it, and write up the minutes once a month, you know.
Okay.
It's not
Good luck
hard.
back in.
Well, at any rate,
I beg, I
The-
beg.
David, make sure Mohammed gets the financials.
Yes.
Okay.
Email them to him tomorrow.
What he does with the
You got my email.
Yeah.
There's a lot of money for the government.
Okay.
So that's what.
All right, now we're going to open it up to the folks in the back of the room.
10 years ago.
Joe,
Yeah.
we're going to open it up to the guys in the back of the room for questions.
And quick point of order, were you guys going to discuss J and over C? Which is cameras, I believe?
Oh,
Well, we didn't have time tonight, and I said because we had 2 guests, we're gonna cover as much as we can, and it's already 8:45, so.
Is there a fast issue that you want to?
No, I just
No,
wanted
we're
to make
not
sure that
discussing
you-
it, so.
Cameras.
And then covering
It's
it
been
for-
tabled, but if you know anyone that would like to volunteer to have a
have it,
camera. that
We have
they
an
know
agreement
what they are.
that, we have an
Yeah.
agreement that you have to sign, acknowledging the fact that if you move or they're property of the association.
Right, can't take them with you.
So if anybody wants that, we'll discuss it, it'll be on the agenda next month, and,
But meanwhile, contact David if you know of anyone who would
Right.
like to volunteer to have a camera, especially anyone facing the dumpsters, the mailboxes.
all right, does anybody else in the back of the room have any questions?
Just a quick thing in regards to the roofs you mentioned in cleaning, and I just wanted to talk to you about 26. I spoke to the gentleman, but I didn't know if he had anything in regards to building 26, or if he got a chance to look at them, and you mentioned that particular list of items that needed, 15 roofs that needed to be repaired.
What address?
5430, 54th way,
Building 26, right?
building 26.
On what street?
54th.
54th, right.
I didn't know if you got, because I know there's black stuff that comes down and I see.
Yeah.
Yes,
Well,
yes.
that's what they're cleaning
Yeah, they
off.
all have.
That's what they're cleaning off.
That's because we haven't done the roofs often enough
Yeah.
of late.
Yeah.
When they're done on a regular basis, we don't usually suffer with that.
I just wanted to make sure, I know it's not a priority, but at least that it's gonna be.
It is being taken care of.
Yeah, now they
That's
do.
part of it.
Okay, and then one more, the water pressure, building 26, how was the water pressure there? I wanted to find that out as well, or I can find it out later on, because I'm noticing something with my water in the kitchen.
Well, I think you're gonna find that these backflow valves that are needing rebuilt are gonna help your water pressure, because every year they have to meet certain standards, and they're tested every year, and this year they found some that need rebuilt, they're not producing the proper pressure. It's leaking back into the system instead of holding it, so.
I'm just wondering how would I know if it's mine, or if I need to go to the plumber.
Is it in all your
It's
rooms?
just the kitchen where it starts and then it starts saying, whoa, what the world is going on here? But if I can find it out at a later time as well too. I can call you or go
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was it.
Okay.
All right, well then, I guess we'll,
I just have one question.
all right,
So I guess it's safe to assume everything's staying the same with the board, all positions and everything?
For the moment. We need a secretary.
We need more people.
Now we have a treasurer, thank God, but we need somebody on the board who would be willing to serve as secretary.
I have to say, this was one of the more better meetings tonight. You guys are,
Yes.
Thank you.
yeah,
Thank you.
very smooth. That's the way you guys should do it.
It's the,
Get her done.
we did so much today, it's unbelievable.
yeah. And I tried to secure the services of,
You were a good boy tonight, Larry.
well, no, I tried to get Dominic to join the board,
No,
but
the compliance is perfect.
He's compliant.
You just can't commit that much time.
Okay.
Do you see Joy Cabrera on a regular basis? 'Cause
Did we adjourn?
Not really, but I.
You got
yeah,
Good.
well,
Could you
as soon as they're
contact
finished.
her and tell her that we discussed her helping to oversee the fence repairs, which she volunteered to at
Okay.
the meeting last week to me? Would you contact her?
Yeah, I'll
And if
just
she's-
tell her that.
Tell
I
her.
make a motion that the meeting adjourn.
Yeah, the motion,
Do I have a second?
Yeah.
I second.
All in favor?
Okay, all right. Meeting adjourned.
Unanimous.